Caitlin Clark has had a seismic impact on the WNBA ever since she first joined. Merchandise sales increased over 600%, league app engagement over 600%, subscriptions to League Pass over 400%, and the team she plays for, the Indiana Fever, tripled in value. But despite all that success that she's immediately had, the league has basically looked the other way as she's been targeted on a weekly basis, and that targeting is putting her career at risk.
It all started with a meteoric rise the WNBA hasn't seen in decades. Caitlin Clark, in just her second year, isn't just another promising talent. She's a spark igniting a league-wide firestorm. Her arrival has transformed empty seats into packed arenas, dusty jerseys into bestsellers, and league apps into subscription gold mines. She's not merely a player. She's an economy in motion, the kind of once-in-a-generation figure that turns casual viewers into lifelong fans. Yet behind the highlight reels and the record-breaking numbers, there's a darker reality, one that threatens to undermine everything she's brought to the game. This isn't just hype, it's hard numbers. Merchandise sales have exploded over 600%. App engagement has soared in parallel. And the Fever's value has tripled since she donned the jersey. That kind of impact doesn't happen by accident. It's the product of dominance, charisma, and marketability wrapped into one player. But the very success that should make her untouchable is, instead, painting a target on her back. It's as if the league has handed its golden goose to the wolves and stepped aside to watch. Enter the stat that should make any league executive lose sleep: 17%. That's the percentage of all flagrant and hard fouls in the WNBA Caitlin Clark absorbed during her rookie season. Not just a league-leading number, but more than double that of any other player. Think about what that means. Nearly 1 in every 5 dangerous plays was inflicted on one woman. And yet, night after night, it continues unchecked, as if the rules of the game bend when she's the one with the ball. To call it physical play is to downplay it. We're talking about shoves midair, blindsides off the ball. It's you'd expect in a street game with no refs in sight. Even Rebecca Lobo, a former player and ESPN analyst, has gone on record saying the officials are letting too much go when it comes to Caitlin. And that's just the fouls that get called. Review the game tape, and you'd see dozens more that slide under the radar. Infractions hiding in plain sight, ignored by the whistle. If it sounds like a pattern, that's because it is. Patterns like this in any workplace have a name: hostile work environment. And here's the kicker. The basketball court is Caitlin's workplace. The WNBA may trade in jump shots and three-pointers, but also operates under the same federal protections as any other employer. When one employee is singled out repeatedly with dangerous conduct tolerated by management, that's not just a PR problem. It's a legal one. And legal problems have a way of snowballing into crises no press team can contain. The tension in this story spikes with a racial undercurrent no one in the league office seems eager to confront. WNBA MVP Io Wilson didn't mince words, saying the attention Caitlin gets is absolutely about race, and admitting it boils her blood when people deny it. That statement didn't come from a random voice in the crowd. It came from one of the league's most respected figures. Resentment is a powerful motivator, especially in a league where opportunities, endorsements, and media coverage are far from equally distributed. And when that resentment translates into physical play, the line between competitiveness and targeting blurs dangerously. From that moment on, the story stopped being just about basketball. It became a collision course between cultural realities and corporate silence. Io Wilson's statement didn't just hang in the air. It ricocheted across social media, sports talk radio, and primetime debate panels. The words "absolutely about race" turned into a rallying cry for some and a lightning rod for others. Overnight, the narrative shifted from hard fouls and hostile play to a full-blown identity conversation. And in the WNBA, where 64% of the players are black, that shift wasn't just uncomfortable, it was explosive. Inside locker rooms, whispers turned into sharp exchanges. Veteran players who'd spent years grinding without Caitlin's level of exposure were suddenly faced with reporters asking them about Wilson's comments. Some agreed privately but refused to go on record, fearing blowback. Others doubled down publicly, framing the entire conversation as overdue. Meanwhile, a smaller group of players defended Clark outright, arguing that her success benefits everyone by raising the league's profile. That split created a tension that didn't fade after games. It lingered on buses and group chats, and during team dinners. The league office knew this wasn't a passing storm. When your MVP says race is central to a controversy involving your biggest star, it's no longer a handle internally situation. But instead of taking a stand one way or another, the WNBA leadership chose silence. That silence was deafening. To players, it signaled avoidance. To fans, it suggested guilt. And to lawyers watching from the sidelines, it looked like the first step in a pattern of willful negligence. The media saw the opening and pounced. ESPN segments dissected every quote, every missed call, every replay angle showing Clark on the floor. Political commentators, many of whom had never uttered the phrase WNBA on air, suddenly found room for it in their shows. The reason? This wasn't just sports anymore. This was race, gender, workplace safety, and money all tangled together. That combination guaranteed ratings. As any seasoned reporter will tell you, controversy is oxygen. For Caitlin Clark, the attention was a double-edged sword. On one hand, her brand was stronger than ever, her name trending daily, endorsement checks clearing, arenas selling out. On the other, she was now the unwilling centerpiece of a cultural war she didn't start. Every elbow to the ribs wasn't just a foul. It was another data point in a growing case against the league. She couldn't answer a question about her game without someone asking about race, safety, or whether she felt targeted. In boardrooms, corporate sponsors started asking uncomfortable questions. They'd invested in the WNBA partly because of Clark's star power and the league's upward momentum. But association with a potential discrimination scandal? That's a different equation entirely. Sponsorship executives hate uncertainty, and this situation was spiraling toward it. The fear wasn't just losing a star. It was losing the narrative, the sense that the WNBA was finally breaking through in the mainstream. A legal scandal could set that back years. The legal side of the story was now impossible to ignore. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act loomed large, and Sean Land's use of hostile work environment wasn't casual. It was strategic. He wasn't just speaking to fans. He was signaling to the federal government, saying, if the league won't act, you might have to. In past cases, such signals have drawn attention from congressional committees, labor departments, and even the Department of Justice. The WNBA was now playing a dangerous game with stakes far beyond basketball. In the player community, alliances began forming in subtle but telling ways. Some veterans rallied around Clark, seeing the bigger picture. Protecting her meant protecting the league's growth. Others avoided her altogether, unwilling to be pulled into the media frenzy. That lack of unity only deepened the league's crisis, because a fractured locker room rarely performs well on the court. And in the WNBA, where the margin between playoff contention and irrelevance is razor thin, that could have season-altering consequences. Fans, meanwhile, were just as divided. Clark supporters filled comment sections with demands for protection, sharing slow-motion videos of the hits she took. Her detractors mocked those concerns, calling her soft, saying she needed to adjust to the league's physicality. But the middle group, the casual fans and curious onlookers, were the most dangerous to the league's image. They weren't defending Clark or attacking her. They were simply asking, why is this allowed to happen? And once that question gains traction, it's hard to bury. The NBA comparison became a favorite talking point in media debates. Analysts recall LeBron James' early years, when the league actively adjusted officiating to protect its young star from excessive fouls. Adam Silver's NBA made clear that its stars were valuable assets, not just players, and protecting them was good business. The contrast with the WNBA's handling of Clark was glaring and damaging. It painted a picture of a league either unwilling or incapable of protecting its most marketable figure. This wasn't lost on broadcasters, either. Networks paying to air WNBA games had a vested interest in keeping Clark on the court healthy and marketable. Quietly, some production teams began instructing their cameramen to focus more on physical plays involving Clark, knowing the footage would go viral. The unintended result? Every missed call, every shove, every hard hit now had a high-definition highlight reel waiting to be shared online. The league couldn't hide from it, even if it tried. Political figures also began circling. While no official statements have been made yet, staffers from multiple congressional offices were reportedly gathering background on the situation. Why? Because nothing plays better on the evening news than a rights being violated headline involving race, gender, and workplace safety. The WNBA wasn't just staring down a PR problem. It was staring at the possibility of becoming a political football in an election cycle. And once that happens, the story stops being about sports altogether. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Clark's camp was weighing its options. Filing a formal complaint would be a nuclear move, turning a simmering controversy into a legal battle. But doing nothing risked further injury and a shortened career. Every hit she took was another reminder that the clock was ticking, and the league's inaction was an answer in itself. For a young star with decades of earning potential ahead, this wasn't just about pride. It was about survival. The psychology of the situation also took a toll. Being the face of the league is exhausting under the best circumstances. Add in the knowledge that every game could bring another unpunished blow, and it becomes a mental grind. Clark had to play through pain while navigating a media minefield and managing her brand. And yet, night after night, she kept producing, proof of her resilience, but also a testament to how much she was risking just by stepping on the court. The jealousy factor, though, never faded. In private, some players admitted they'd never seen anything like the hype surrounding Clark. The endorsement deals, the constant media coverage, the fan turnout. It was a career's worth of exposure condensed into months. For those who had spent years fighting for recognition, it stung. And in professional sports, where egos and competition mix freely, that sting can manifest in ways that are anything but professional. What made the situation even more surreal was that protecting Clark wasn't just good for her, it was good for everyone. Bigger audiences mean bigger TV deals. Bigger TV deals mean higher salaries and better benefits for all players. Yet, by allowing Clark to be targeted, the league was jeopardizing that entire growth cycle. It was as if they didn't understand, or didn't care, that the golden goose they were risking wasn't just hers. It was theirs, too. As the weeks passed, the controversy didn't fade. Instead, it evolved, with new incidents fueling the fire. Every hard foul became another chapter in a story the league seemed powerless or unwilling to control. The narrative had escaped their grasp, spreading beyond sports outlets into mainstream news. And once a story like this enters that space, it develops a life of its own, immune to the usual PR containment strategies. By now, the pressure was coming from all sides. Sponsors wanted reassurance, fans wanted answers, players wanted consistency, and lawyers wanted accountability. The WNBA's leadership was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Act decisively and risk alienating parts of the player base, or do nothing and risk a federal investigation. Neither option was appealing, but doing nothing was becoming increasingly untenable. The looming question was whether Clark herself would eventually speak out. So far, she'd been diplomatic, avoiding direct criticism of the league or her peers. But every player has a breaking point. If she were to go public with her frustrations, it would instantly shift the conversation from speculation to confirmation. And at that point, the league wouldn't just be reacting to headlines, it would be reacting to its most valuable player openly calling it out. That's a nightmare scenario for any sports league. Your star becoming your critic. It's happened before in other leagues, and the fallout is never pretty. But in the WNBA's case, the stakes are even higher because of the league's relatively fragile position in the sports marketplace. A misstep here could undo years of progress. And yet, by staying silent, they were inching closer to that very outcome. In the end, the equation was brutally simple. Protect Caitlin Clark or prepare for consequences that could reshape the league entirely. Those consequences weren't just hypothetical. They were visible on the horizon, growing closer with every uncalled foul. The WNBA could still choose the easier path, the one that safeguarded its star and stabilized its future. But as of now, they hadn't taken it, and time was running out. So here's the question every fan, player, and sponsor should be asking. Will the WNBA step up before it's too late? Or will jealousy, politics, and silence destroy the very momentum they've been waiting decades to build? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this isn't just about one player. This is about the future of an entire league. And make no mistake, the clock is ticking.